Welcome to the deep dive. Today we are tackling a topic that, well, it's kind of the elephant in the room for a lot of people planning a major bucket list trip.
Yeah, it really is. We're talking about tipping. Specifically, the often whispered, super awkward question of tipping on a Mount Kilimanjaro climb.
Right, because, I mean, you spend all these months obsessing over altitude sickness, right? And, physical fitness, nutrition, breaking in your boots so you don't get blisters.
Oh, absolutely. The logistics of the climb itself take up all the oxygen in the room.
Exactly. But then you get to the mountain, and suddenly you're faced with this incredibly complex financial etiquette at the end of the trail, and nobody wants to get that wrong.
No, they don't. And that's exactly why we're using this great source today, the Kilimanjaro Tipping Guide from Vertical Sky. The whole mission here is just to take the mystery out of it.
Take the mystery and, honestly, the guilt out of it.
Yes, exactly. Because tipping on Kilimanjaro is a real, expected, customary part of the culture. But the guide makes this really strong argument that it should never be a mystery, it shouldn't be a guilt trip, and it definitely shouldn't be a subsidy for wages that an operator just, failed to pay.
Okay, let's actually start right there with that ethical foundation, because that feels like the real question under the question here.
It is. Before you even calculate a single dollar, you have to understand what that tip is actually paying for.
Right. Like, is it a bonus or is it survival? I kept thinking about it like going to a restaurant. Imagine going out to eat and you realize the tip you're leaving isn't a reward for, like, exceptional service. It's literally the waiter's entire paycheck for the week.
Right, which completely changes the moral weight of what you're doing.
Completely. You're no longer just saying thanks. You're suddenly solely responsible for a human being's livelihood, which is a huge burden to put on someone.
It's a massive burden. And that restaurant analogy perfectly captures the dark reality of some of these cut-price Kilimanjaro expeditions.
The deeply discounted ones.
Yeah. On those cheaper climbs, tips are not a supplementary thank you. They are the actual wage. The crews are depending entirely on those tips just to reach a baseline living income.
Wow. So the operator just quietly shifts the burden of paying their staff directly onto the climber's conscience.
Exactly. It removes it from the operator's payroll and turns what should be a joyful expression of gratitude into essentially a mandatory payroll subsidy.
That feels like a trap. Like, it's unfair to the porter carrying the gear, obviously, but it's also unfair to the climber who thought they paid a comprehensive price up front.
It functions exactly as a trap. It's designed to artificially lower the advertised price of the climb online. And this is why ethical operators prioritize paying proper wages before tips are even considered.
So how do you know if an operator is doing that?
Well, the guide highlights this specific standard, the Kilimanjaro Porters Assistance Project.
KPP, right.
KPAP, yeah. They function as this independent watchdog for mountain crew welfare. Ethical operators ensure that every single guide, cook, and porter receives wages that exceed the fair pay standards set by KPAP. And that happens before a single tip changes hands.
Okay, so if the base wage is already covered by the operator, how does that change things for the climber?
It changes everything. The tip just returns to being what it should be. Genuine recognition for the people who literally carried your world uphill for a week.
Right.
The moral anxiety just evaporates.
Right.
You aren't sitting there wondering if a porter can feed their family based on your tip. You're just thanking them.
Which means, and this is a huge takeaway for anyone listening, before you book flights, before you buy boots, you have to interrogate the operator.
Yes. You have to ask the wage question first.
Like, do you adhere to KPAP standards?
Exactly. Because the answer to that single question reveals everything about their underlying ethics. Once you know they pay a fair wage, the tipping process is stripped of its moral hazard. And then, you can see if we look at the actual math.
Oh, the math. Okay, the math is where my anxiety usually peaks.
I think that's true for most people.
Right. Like, I'm just picturing being huddled in a freezing tent, exhausted, headlamp on, trying to do, like, calculus with a stack of wet cash.
It sounds like a nightmare. But the guide actually provides clear, KPAP-aligned daily recommendations to prevent exactly that scenario.
Oh, thank God. Okay, break it down for me.
So tipping on Kilimanjaro is calculated per crew member, per day. But crucially, it's based on the whole climbing group pooling their money together.
Oh, wait. The whole group? So I'm not sitting there calculating an individual tip for every single porter myself?
No. It's a collective effort. You pool it. And the commonly recommended ranges are pretty straightforward. So for the lead guide, the group as a whole should budget roughly $20 to $25 per day.
Okay. 20 to 25 for the lead guide.
Right. For each assistant guide, it's $15 to $20 per day. The cook is $12 to $15, and each porter is about $8 to $10 per day.
Okay, I mean, those daily rates sound pretty modest individually, but you have to factor in the sheer size of these crews, right? It's not just a couple people.
Oh, the scale is immense. A fully supported climb is a massive human engine. You usually have 3 or 4 crew members for every one climber.
Wow. 3 or 4 to 1.
Yeah. So when you factor in those daily rates across the entire crew, for a typical 7 or 8-day expedition, climbers should budget roughly $250 to $400 in total per person for their individual share.
$250 to $400? That's a bit of a range, though. Why the $150 variance?
It fluctuates based on 3 main things. First, the size of your climbing group. Second, the size of the support crew needed for that group. And third, obviously, the route length. An 8-day climb needs more daily tips than a 6-day climb.
Okay, the group size thing makes total sense. Like, if it's just 2 of you climbing, the fixed cost of the crew is shared between just 2 people, so your per-person tip is going to be on the higher end of that range.
Exactly. And conversely, if you're in a big group of 10 climbers, the total crew tip is spread much more widely, so your personal contribution drops.
Got it. But even with that range, it still feels a little abstract until you're on the mountain.
Well, that's the thing. Ethical operators eliminate that guesswork. They actually give you a simple, written breakdown before the climb even begins.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, they give you suggested figures tailored to your exact crew size. So you walk onto the mountain knowing precisely what to expect. No headlamp arithmetic required.
Okay, that is super comforting. But we do have to talk about the logistics, because knowing the numbers is one thing, but I'm supposed to carry, what, $400 in cash up a volcano?
Yep, cash is king on the mountain.
Right, because I doubt I'm finding a card machine at 15,000 feet. But how do we guarantee the money reaches the right people? If we're pooling all this cash, what stops it from just disappearing into someone's pocket?
That is the most vital question. And the answer is actually this deeply ingrained mountain tradition called the tipping ceremony.
The tipping ceremony.
Yeah. It's genuinely one of the loveliest moments of the entire trip. It usually happens at the final camp or maybe at the park gate after you descend.
Yeah.
The whole crew gathers together. They sing traditional mountain songs.
Oh, wow. That sounds incredible.
It is. Names are called out loud. Heartfelt thanks are exchanged. It's a real celebration of this intense shared effort.
And I'm guessing the public nature of this is what provides the accountability.
Exactly. The pooled tips are announced openly, out loud, by roll, and the money is handed over transparently in front of everyone.
So everyone hears exactly what the group gave.
Right. Everyone hears it. Everyone sees it being distributed based on those daily rates. That absolute transparency makes it literally impossible for funds to be misappropriated because the whole community is watching.
That is brilliant. It just replaces like bureaucratic auditing with complete community transparency.
It works perfectly. And, if you want to give a personal extra, you can do that too. If a specific summit night guide was incredible or a porter really helped you out, you can just hand them some extra cash directly during the ceremony.
Okay, so the accountability is handled. But let's go back to the cash itself. The guide mentions something really specific about the physical bills.
Yes, this is crucial. If you are bringing US dollars, which are totally fine, along with Tanzanian shillings, there is a strict requirement for the condition of the currency.
Wait, the condition?
Yeah. You have to bring newer, crisp, unmarked bills.
Really? Like,
Well,
I can't just bring the crumpled $20 bill sitting in my wallet.
No, absolutely not. Tanzanian banks are incredibly particular about foreign currency. They will literally refuse to exchange old, torn, or marked dollar notes.
Just because they're a little worn out, why?
They fear counterfeits, and honestly, damaged foreign bills are just hard for them to circulate internationally. So if you tip a porter with a torn 20, that money is effectively useless to them. They can't buy groceries with it if the bank rejects it.
Oh man, I never would have thought of that. That is such an important detail. So you need pristine bills.
Pristine bills and a sensible mix of denominations. Lots of 5s, 10s, and 20s, so the money could be divided cleanly, without anyone needing to make change on the side of a mountain.
And you just carry this in like a sealed envelope.
Yeah, sealed envelope stored safely in your duffel bag or deep in your pack with your passport.
Okay, that all makes practical sense. But I want to talk about how this all feels, because the source texts really emphasize that the physical handover of cash isn't just a transaction.
No, it's not. It represents this profound shift in mindset.
Right, because going into the trip, you might be super apprehensive. You might think tipping is some kind of secret auction, like if I
Yeah.
tip way over the recommended amount on day one, I'll get better treatment.
Which the guide firmly rejects. On an ethical climb, the crew is already giving you their absolute best. Throwing extra money around at the start doesn't change their dedication.
Right, and it's also not a test you can fail.
Exactly. If you just follow the written guidance the operator gives you, you are doing it perfectly. It's not compulsory in a policed sense. It's a structural part of the mountain's culture.
And by the time you actually get to the ceremony, having spent a week watching these people work, your perspective must just completely flip.
It totally does. The guide notes that this is the most common reaction. You know, these amounts, $250 to $400, might feel like a big chunk of change when you're budgeting at home,
Oh, for sure.
but then you get there and you watch these individuals carry heavy tents, portable toilets, days' worth of food, up steep, rocky inclines at extreme altitude.
While I'm like struggling to carry my own water bottle.
Exactly. You're just trying to carry your own body weight. So witnessing that physical reality completely recontextualizes the money. The most common thing people say at the tipping ceremony is never, "Why is this so expensive?"
Hmm.
It's always, in total disbelief, is that really all they ask?
Wow. Yeah, I must suddenly feel incredibly modest for what they actually did to keep you alive.
It really does. So the best approach, genuinely, is to just budget that money from the very beginning. Treat it exactly like the cost of your flights or your park permit.
Right. Just bake it into the core cost of the trip so you don't even have to think about it once you're there.
Exactly. If it's built in up front, the stress is gone.
Yeah.
You arrive at the tipping ceremony fully present, and it just gets to be a pure expression of thanks.
And it frees you up to put your scrutiny where it actually belongs, on the operator, making sure they are paying a living wage before the expedition even starts.
Precisely. A good company has nothing to hide.
Yeah.
They'll tell you their wages, they'll give you a written breakdown. It's just a complete inversion of how we normally think about tipping. Right.
Yeah, it is. Usually tipping is just this afterthought, scribbling a percentage on a receipt at the end of a meal. But here, it's entirely different.
It transforms the whole experience. Engaging with this ethically actually becomes a lens into the human infrastructure that makes these bucket list dreams possible in the first place.
The human infrastructure, I really love that phrase, because we do tend to focus just on the environment, the elevation, the weather, the glaciers. But navigating that mountain is fundamentally a human effort.
It is. So here's a thought for everyone listening to mull over. When you look at a breathtaking photo of a climber standing at the summit of Kilimanjaro, you are only seeing a tiny fraction of the reality. The question is, when you look at that peak, do you just see the rock? Or do you now see the people who actually carried you there?
That is such a powerful perspective to end on. You really can't unsee the human element once you understand it. Well, thank you all so much for joining us for this deep dive. As always, keep questioning the hidden systems and the essential human efforts behind the services you use, no matter where your adventures take you. Catch you next time.